All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Owarimonogatari, Season 2, Episode 6. They're gonna deal with Ougi. Or Gaen wants to exterminate Ougi.
For she is a bakemono.
Yeah.
She's a monster. An aberration, if you will. Yeah.
But,
it's kind of interesting to see Araragi having this, I would say, this duality where you can see the confusion in his eyes, and it's legitimate. But then we've seen also points in the past where it's like,
Ougi
no, he
doing
knows.
her thing. Yeah.
And it seems to be something where when Ougi's present, he's more or less kind of
Yes.
aware of what's going on. He's not able to say it, it feels like. Well, one, because he's primarily listening when Ougi's talking.
That is true. She does tend to command his attention.
Yeah. But, okay. And he's going to have help. But
Because we've got the Lolly Triforce squad here.
Yes.
And they will have his back.
Yep.
Especially since apparently Hachikuji is going to be the new god of the shrine. And even though she's not yet, but okay.
Oh, it's
right.
so good. I just want there to be basically the moment where they also kind of go, Araragi, whatever you decide, ultimately, we have to.
I mean, Kiss Shot already said I'll go with whatever you choose. So
we're gonna help you, but this is also your battle. So,
oh boy.
So that's
boy.
That's gonna be good. I can't wait. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, we're gonna be starting the episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Oh yeah,
this wonderful OP.
This new OP is so good. Oh, it's so awesome.
Yeah, that is a great, well, not transition, but effect.
It's kind of like the OP is saying, hey, you should know by this point. But
right.
At that very rare case that you don't, kind of clarify the simplistic answers to what's going on here. But it's just such a cool, pretty OP too.
But how
light and dark, stars, shadow.
How is Ougi going to how is her story going to get resolved, right? Because there's Araragi's story, but then there's Ougi.
Well, that's the thing. It's how does Araragi want to do this? It's going to it's no longer going to be two. It's going to be basically just a thing of which part of this do you accept and which part of this do you reject. Yeah, tell it for
Defending
us.
her.
Tell it for us. Oh,
right.
Nice, Gaen, well done.
It's very true.
So true. Oh. Wow. That is such a cool callback. Wow, okay. Oh, yeah.
I mean, even Shinobu's last name isn't actually Oshino. Okay. Bring her into the light. Great point.
Yeah, don't say that. Okay. Naturally. The standard approach.
Really?
Okay.
The demon?
No. No, the mom. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But are we going to go back and explain, like, her absence? Just look at Hachiguchi. Hachiguchi is like... There it is. There it is. Wow. Awesome. Oh, okay.
But how? Right.
Awesome. Yep.
Right. Oh, that she's Araragi?
Yeah, basically. Like she's a construct of Araragi. All right. Wow.
Oh. Oh, that's a... Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Wow, going all the way back to that.
Uh-huh. I like it. That's a really good mechanic for it.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Hey.
But you already know, don't you?
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, she's helping her out,
Oh,
being her assistant.
yeah. Oh.
Bangs are fully gone.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Way to go, Nadeko.
Yeah, I guess
You're too whimsical for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good friend right there.
Wow.
Well, yeah, just both, basically. Not answering.
Nice. You're making it your job, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh.
This is so wholesome. Wow. Uh. Wow. This kind of reminds me of end of Bakemonogatari. Remember?
Oh.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this all for Tsukihi?
Whoa. Oh, this is eerie. Whoa, yeah, but hey, Tsukihi. Oh, whoa. Here?
What's going on? Is Ougi after Tsukihi because she's the phoenix? The one that keeps getting reborn?
Wow. So let's keep the story going.
Mm-hmm. Because those go hand in hand, don't they?
True.
Yeah. Okay, this is starting to worry me a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god. A body's a body. Yes, she is.
I love how much Tsukihi is essentially like deflecting
Wax on, wax off,
the
yeah.
games that Ougi's bringing up here.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay. Dang. Yeah, this is all a pretense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Here we go.
What's with this track change?
Yeah. Ah, yeah. There's no way.
Okay.
Aw.
All right.
God, the look on Aragi's face. As they say. Wow. Maybe, but it's also just true. Ooh, it's a good line. No, you can't arrive at the future either way. It's the future. Right. Oh, this hurts. Wow. Oh my god, this discussion is going to be so good. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Wow, way to go, Aragi.
All right.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Okay. There it is. Wow.
So what now?
Well, you know, it's just to reconcile, in some ways, the past with his present, and then it'll be interesting to see if there'll be some aspect of Ougi taking shelter within Aragi. You know, kind of like a, you know, even if you revealed the identity, it's, you know, it's not necessarily going to destroy Ougi. But there were so many like little visual cues about like aberrations and stuff with Bake, and then we went back to the same spot from way back when.
Yep.
With the burnt down school, yeah.
Okay.
All right, y'all.
Well, that's
Yeah, we're just gonna get to reel from that. Oh my god.
Okay. Oh, I was really worried during that conversation with Tsukihi, though.
Yeah, that was really uncomfortable.
But like
extremely
okay.
uncomfortable. Okay.
Our boy did it.
Yeah. Wow. There it is.
You are me.
And
Okay.
he's done it. So now it's just the question of
What next?
comes next. Yeah.
Yeah, integration, or like, you know, how would that work out and everything? And
Yeah, letting her pass on, letting you go on. Like, there's a lot of ways this could happen. But yeah, this episode, y'all,
it was a really good episode. I love that we got that surprise visit from Tsukihi and Sengoku. That was wonderful.
Yeah,
both of the conversations.
Yeah, it was a fun choice of transition from basically the decision of, okay, Araragi, you're going to do this. Okay, cut now to Tsukihi and Sengoku having a conversation that feels a bit apt, especially when you look at it with the conversation that happens with them on the bike.
Right.
With, Ougi, Araragi.
Yeah, and I can't
Tsukihi.
I can't believe I didn't realize it at first, but it took me a while to actually clue in of like, oh, no, that's right. This is indeed Araragi. That's, of course, driving Tsukihi back from hanging out with Nadeko. That makes a ton of sense.
Excuse me.
Of course. But it also throws some interesting perspective on the things that
The
Ougi
whole
said.
conversation.
Because the way it was set up was like very ominous feeling, where it's like, okay, there's this music and like Ougi's like, oh yeah, a body is a body, and it's like, wait, is she trying to like I got the feeling that she was trying to like switch hosts or something for a second. Get some of that Phoenix power or something.
It definitely felt like that situation where in the mystery novel, if you will, that the murderer is basically right there.
Yeah, alone like, with the person, and you're like, no, that's the murderer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But when looked at it from a different way, it's something of where Ougi might have been both asking for help via Araragi and, Tsukihi's connection as siblings, but also kind of projecting out the issues of Araragi and her into the Tsukihi situation to kind of, I don't know, lash out maybe not, but
because there was. Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Because there was that element of like poking at Tsukihi of like, which also could be an Araragi thing of like, hey, you need to think about the future kind of a thing. But it also feels like it's coming from those insecurities maybe that Araragi has of like, I'm going to be moving on to the next stage of my life. This is a big transition. I don't know if I'm ready for it.
So
what's the right thing to do? Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to lose Ougi, right? But then all the things that Ougi is kind of saying, Tsukihi is like wax on, wax off, like, in her wonderful Tsukihi fashion, just spitting wisdom.
Yep.
And Ougi is like
frustrated,
jealous
almost.
Or frustrated by it. It's like
to exterminate her, if you will, by having her reveal her own identity. Because in some ways, Tsukihi already knows who she is.
Right.
She brought it up with Sengoku. She's like, I actually don't have goals or things like that. I'm a bit too nihilistic, if you will. She's already got basically a little bit of a grip on her dark and her light side, if you will. And there's this wonder that Sengoku has of just like, oh, you really seem to have things just kind of figured out more than most people I know. It's, wow. It's kind of amazing. And I really think it is in some ways because Tsukihi doesn't really have any other way of going about things. Right. She has to live in the present. Like,
that's who she is.
Yeah, but she's got all these other things that could be maybe painful distractions or something that could force her to regret the past or worry about the future. But instead, she just kind of brings her environment into the present along with her.
Yep.
Just like, nope.
And I love
not the way things are going to go.
I love that it's like this aspect of Tsukihi was brought up because Tsukihi as a character, I feel like throughout the show has always been definitely true to her character, right? It was obvious the kind of character that she was, but I feel like we didn't get too much exploration from other people or Tsukihi herself into talking about the kind of person that she was.
Yeah, because not really since Nisei.
Right, because she was constantly doing, right?
Yeah.
She was shining the spotlight for Nadeko and things like that. So having her,
right, because that's what she likes to do.
Exactly, that's what she likes to do.
Yeah.
So talking about the fact that I'm just a supporter. I don't really need to be doing anything myself. It's like, oh, okay, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then with the whole idea of her being the Phoenix and Araragi growing up, like the Phoenix is the eternal rebirth, right?
Yep.
Like it's the from the ashes of its own death, it comes alive again, right? It's wonderful, and I love Phoenixes for that reason. I just that picture is it blows me away, right?
Yeah.
But then here Araragi is needing to grow up. And even Tsukihi is sort of like, talking about the fact that okay, I don't have many plans for like my life in general beyond just the present, but and I think it was Ougi that brought it up that Karin was gonna go on to high school and then Araragi was going on to college. Was that her that brought it up? I think it was, but I'm not sure. I
can look up in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tsukihi had this moment of where she was worried if she was going to potentially be left behind again, like she was 2 years ago.
Gotcha.
And that was the whole thing of where she was like, I kind of get drawn into, people who want to do things. And she mentioned, I'm a bit more nihilistic or maybe destructive in that same breath. And then Nadeko, without even looking at her, kind of goes, are you talking about Karin-san or Koyomi-san? And she kind of goes,
like the hair perks up. Yeah.
That and helping Nadeko-chan's job,
that's me being drawn to your enthusiasm. Yeah.
Right. But what it's kind of saying is like, you're right on both accounts, Nadeko. Like, yes, essentially. By not fully addressing it there, she's kind of going, well, yeah, like, yes, both of those.
Right.
And that's what then Ougi targets as a weak point by basically saying, hey, you're a monster like me because you're actually like leeching off of those other people, which is your only reason for living, which in a weird way is Ougi also kind of outing herself if she is the support for Araragi, saying that I don't have a reason for living either because I just support people or I need those people to go on. But then Tsukihi's like, no, you can just live.
Right.
Like, there's always that option.
Ougi's like, of course you would say that.
Yeah. And people need people to live. That's important. So Tsukihi is basically drawing up the counterpoints of, no, you do have a decent enough reason for being Ougi, which is also her talking to Araragi.
Right. And
it's so good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one of the things that I really like about how this went down is that we got to see, because, okay, Tsukihi is wise beyond her years, right?
Right.
And we haven't really seen too many like flaws from her really, other than maybe like her quick temper when she sees certain things potentially happening. She grabs those awls and knives pretty quick. But
but she literally admitted her flaws in this episode.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's wonderful because Ougi is that part of Araragi that is born from that time when his internal sense of justice was thrown into question, and he wanted to make sure that he was doing the right thing because he couldn't with Oikura, and he didn't necessarily feel like he was with himself, and all these situations, right?
So he needs to develop his own kind of system for that,
right? And so Ougi is the representation of that, and she helps him with that in some really concrete ways, right? Yeah. Like there is a purpose that Ougi serves. But then with Tsukihi, Ougi starts targeting that part of her that is the flaw, right? That is the imperfection. But it's not that Tsukihi is perfect. It's that she is in balance with her flaws.
Well, she just accepts her flaws.
Right.
I think that's the whole point of where they're going with this with Ougi, is that Araragi is going to need to accept that while Ougi as an aberration or as a bakemono will be exterminated, not necessarily, I think.
In the traditional sense.
The traditional sense, yeah.
Hanakawa still has white stripes in her hair.
Exactly. There's going to be a part of what Ougi represents within Araragi that will live on. Or maybe will be reborn in the ashes of the previous Ougi. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, like because she did jump through that window. Like there was, the part,
the OP,
or not the window, the mirror.
The mirror,
think. Yeah. But like the OP is amazing, and I love that part where she jumps through the mirror, and And given that we have this whole thing of oddities and aberrations in Monogatari, who's to say that those things can't take on a life of their own in a sort of similar offshoot way? Okay, Shinobu's a bad example, but Shinobu has an existence on her own that is now different from her original status as Kiss Shot, right? She wants to go back to being a little girl, right? That's the new sort of balance that she's found. With her, maybe it's a weird comparison because she is by her very nature a vampire, so
it doesn't work as well.
It doesn't work as well, right?
I totally get what you're getting at, though.
But the idea of Ougi then being able to take on her own life so that, you know, she can then be in Hana, right? And so, yeah.
And we have a lovely kind of beginning bit with Gaen providing some wonderful retorts. I loved her little thing of, why do I, presume to call her a monster? Why do you presume to call her Ougi-chan? And it's just like, that's a really good snappy brought back there. And then we end up kind of having little kind of reveals there of little things that have been set up of the idea of, is her name really even Ougi? Or is it just, that she was referred to as a fan, an Ougi?
Right.
And it's just like, oh, no way. That is so cool. Yep. And also even the idea that, her being, brought up in this way, just completely alludes to her being a monster in that regard.
Oh, okay.
Let me go back to this here. The whole thing about her being an unknown.
Oh, right. Yeah. Which the whole idea of her being an unknown, and that's why saying, like, okay. Aberrations in Monogatari, right? They're always something where the person has to fix them themselves, right? But sometimes the person is unaware that there is an aberration situation going on, right? And then that's where the specialists in Araragi come into play, right? But here, with Araragi having the aberration, well, he doesn't know. So what's that most important part? Acknowledging it, calling it out for what it is. Yeah. One of the things that I also really liked here is, just because it's in this conversation here with Gaen and everything, is when she brought up the idea that that Araragi reminded her of her sister.
Oh, yeah, that was the thing I was wanting to bring up.
Yeah, because as a plot point, it's like, okay, that's a really cool tie-in because there's the whole thing with Suruga and her mom and the devil and everything like that. But also the idea of that Araragi's being hard on himself also turns into him being hard on others. Yeah. And that it can become that, like, crazy cycle, like sort of self-fulfilling, not self-fulfilling, but like...
Yeah, so the difference would be between it being a self-fulfilling thing and it being actually something that's perpetuated because you...
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It. So when Araragi is tough on himself and holds himself to high standards because maybe of Ougi and or just past trauma and experiences and stuff in general, it's him wanting to avoid the pain of those situations that happened back then. So then when he's trying to help his friends avoid pain, he ends up unintentionally being hard on them. However, he's not necessarily fully aware of how that could come across. Because then he looks over and he's like, Hachikuji, like, am I been like that? And Hachikuji's,
like, are you just now realizing this?
I loved how Hachikuji kind of shuts down his whole denial of that, of like, wait,
I have that kind of personality?
And then Hachikuji's look like says the whole thing.
That is a reaction image right there, if I ever saw one.
So good.
Like...
Yeah, and then this is kind of a cool little thing that I'm going to go back and check out the whole stuff with Gaen Toei with regards to this. Is I'll have Koyomi do the same thing my older sister did.
Oh, with the darkness and stuff?
Yeah, basically that, you're the only one who can do this, and basically there needs to be a revealing of what this is.
Oh, right,
so that it can be brought out into the light and then thus be consumed by the darkness.
Which is such a cool mechanic of like, okay, let's take this thing that we made you think was the villain or that the villain was this, but it's actually not. But because we already set that up and within the context of the actual villain in a lot of ways, then we're going to bring that thing back and say that that's going to be the way that you can not just after resolving it within yourself, Araragi, right? But within the supernatural mechanics of the universe.
Yep.
That's how we're going to resolve it, or how we could resolve it, but probably not actually, because Ougi is still around in Hana. So there's that.
And then it brought into the whole balance, reap what you sow kind of thing, calling back to, justice, if you will.
Sure.
Making Araragi think back to, the classroom and stuff.
Yep.
And just the idea of, Ougi's clearly lying about what she is, so therefore that's, this is just the right thing there. And then the whole going back to all the key pivotal locations and stuff, the classroom,
running into Nadeko.
He bumped into Senjugahara for the first time when she fell, and then the bike incident with Nadeko.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, here we go. All this will bear down on her. Even where the bridge with Yotsugi.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. This is the one that made me think about something else, though. There's a part here where there's trees and a black and white image there. And I think, is this Koi where...
Yeah, I think that might be.
Taiki encountered someone?
Yeah, and they attacked him?
Yeah. Was that...
I think so.
Like, is that what they're hinting at here? Because that's really, really cool. And then that's, basically... the resolution there of how it'll be solved.
Yep.
And Gaen's like, no, I'm not really wanting to go full on into the personality of my sister here, but that is how her problem was dealt with.
Right.
And what's interesting about this is I'm guessing then that this is a connection back to the leftover devil piece that Tsuruga had to deal with in her arc in Bake, which then gets fully resolved, I'm guessing, in the final stuff with
in Hana
Monogatari, Tsuruga Devil.
And didn't Ougi have a part to play in making all of that stuff happen too? So...
I mean, that is after this. So
right.
That's the whole thing of why I don't think that Ougi will be completely exterminated.
But I'm really curious, actually. I kind of want to go back and rewatch that arc now to see if, and especially once the series is over and once Ougi's arc is over and everything, because is that something where Ougi is kind of doing something similar with the connection that, if Ougi is a similar thing to what Gaen's sister had to deal with, and so hence the devil thing, but then Ougi in Hana starts orchestrating things to happen for the devil pieces to get brought back together. I
don't remember. I'm going to have to go back and check that stuff out. Yeah. But, Gaen's like, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to happen now. It has to happen now. And she brings up something interesting about how a fake can be in some ways stronger than the real thing. She's saying, in my opinion, a quasi-darkness is more dangerous than the quote-unquote darkness itself, because it convinces you basically that, here she says, it refuses to allow a tidy ending. It says that giving everyone a happy ending is cheating.
Which is funny, because that was how this story how the story started. Okay, with going back to the beginning of this year with summer break and Kizu and all of that stuff, Araragi tried to get a happy ending for everyone, but he was told that was not possible, so he had to go for equally unhappy, right, as an ending. And that's Ougi wasn't around at that time, but I don't know, that seems relevant.
Yeah. And
and then the rejecting the request from Kiss Shot. Because what he said for that, I think, because I rewatched Kizu 3 pretty recently, is that he basically said I'm a human, you're a vampire, right? And then and then they fought, right?
Right. Okay.
What would that mean with Ougi? I'm me and you're you, or something like that, or I'm me and you're also me.
Yeah, I think it's that. It's basically the acknowledging of identities, and then seeing what conflict would come from that, if any. I think, if anything, the acknowledgement that they are of the same nature, for the most part, that in some ways the conflict might be resolved. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. Wholesomeness, with Tsukihi and Sengoku.
Yep.
Then led to terrifying atmosphere with regards to the bike ride.
Yep. Before we get to the bike ride, I think my favorite part from the interactions between Tsukihi and Sengoku was when Tsukihi was saying, "I'm happy to just like help you with your job or whatever," and then Tsukihi's like, then Nadeko's like, "It's not my job yet," and it's like that is one of the sweetest things ever, because it's something that she's passionately working hard on, right? But it might not be something that she's necessarily like made it in, right? She hasn't necessarily won the prizes for the contest or anything like that. She hasn't made money off of this necessarily, but she's still doing it. And Tsukihi calls it for what it is because she's treating it that way. And Tsukihi, you're amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, then that whole conversation.
Yeah. And Ougi trying to basically guide Tsukihi in the discussion and the conversation towards a specific conclusion via multiple angles, and Tsukihi keeps deflecting it as she lives in the present and won't worry about the future. Even though she does kind of have little bits of worry about the future that she discusses with Sengoku.
Right, and that's, I think, the true like magic of Tsukihi as a character, because it's not that like, and I kind of am just restating what I've already said with the whole, it's not that she doesn't have flaws, it's how she treats them, but she has those concerns, but it's her response to those concerns, which is kind of exactly like, since this is also Araragi, it's kind of exactly what he needs to hear too, of hey, that's okay, Oni-chan, that's normal, you know, you'll be all right.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up a couple things that are rather interesting here. She says basically that she's jealous that Tsukihi can say that. And it's kind of a thing of where, you did this, you successfully, beat me, and basically, I'm sorry, can you take my bike and go home alone? I have something important to talk to you about your big brother. And she gives her the code.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, exactly. Even though setting it to 0 is basically like saying, if you didn't basically do this, I wouldn't have given you the code back, maybe. It's kind of a thing of where everything was set to 0, the whole Ougi math number thing from the beginning of Owari. So, I don't know. It's just something I just maybe am reading a little bit too much into, but I thought it was... that was potentially kind of an interesting little tidbit there.
Well, it's that fresh start, right? Because in an ideal situation, and what's probably going to end up happening is that this is a fresh start for both Araragi and for Ougi.
Yeah.
But there's also that sort of that death of sorts, because Ougi is going to be, is going to be different from here on out. And Ougi doesn't necessarily, no one knows what the future holds, right? So
yeah.
Ougi is worried, you know.
Yeah. Probably because Araragi is worried.
Yep. And then that whole line of in case you haven't realized, I'm begging for my life right now.
So then they have the discussion, and Tsukihi is, I think, confident in her brother being able to make it through this. And I wanted to bring up just another thing of, do you recognize, another person who was dealing with a lot of internal issues that came to this location?
Didn't they?
I think it was
pretty
Hanakawa, right?
Well, didn't most of them come to this location?
I mean, most of them, yeah.
But yeah, there was the point when Hanakawa came here and then she slept here.
Yeah, I just think this is almost a little bit of a callback to that in some ways as well. Just a specific one, because it's more realized in a visual sense, like Hanakawa's was to having like a capped, form that she would take on.
Right, that
whereas most of the
takes over her sometimes.
Right,
maybe.
whereas most of the other characters didn't have it kind of presented in that way. Maybe Tsuruga would kind of fit under that bill a little bit.
Sort of, yeah.
But then they have their conversation, and it's
Araragi is deadpan serious.
He is resolved to do this.
Yep.
And yeah.
Also, one thing I noticed, and it could totally just be because Shinobu is probably my favorite character in Monogatari, right?
Okay.
But I feel like we keep getting little nods to Shinobu when it doesn't seem like the story is focusing on Shinobu. So, like, in the previous episode, Hachikuji is going to become the new god, right?
Yeah.
But then there's like these offhand, sort of nods of like, oh, what about Shinobu? And then they, sort of move on, right? And then here it's like, oh, okay, Shinobu's going to like they're going to go through the process again, not fully human, not fully vampire, like that whole thing. I love it. But it's sort of slipped in here when they're talking about, like, it seems like they're talking about something very different. And I get that that's something that's very important to Araragi and hence Ougi.
Yeah, it's important to Araragi, and thus I think it gets brought up because it's a thing of where they both selectively end up taking on different parts of the job.
Okay.
Of just Araragi's life.
Sure.
So they catch each other up to speed at times.
Gotcha.
Like Ougi being like, so what's Shinobu doing right now? Because it's a very important thing to bring up in general. And Araragi immediately gives her the full details of, what she's wanting and thus what they're going to do after this.
Because the first impression that I got, which I'm not sure if that was something that was like intentional sort of from the show and how it's portraying things, was it something where Ougi was like, if they end up having a fight after this to sort of dramatically showcase the resolution of Ougi's character arc and everything, and art in Araragi's, which I feel like they don't have to, but they could. It almost felt like Ougi was sort of asking a thing of like, is Shinobu also going to be here for for this fight that could happen? But then at the same time, she was begging for her life, so there's not a question. Araragi is in complete control here, So maybe it was just that she wanted to see if this was actually a private thing that was happening, just the two of them, or just the one of them.
Possibly, yeah. I love how Araragi kind of retorts with Ougi giving a little bit of the judgmental thing of, and you wanted to become a quasi-human again, a failed attempt at a vampire? Like that's really what you want?
Yeah.
And then he just goes, nah, I just love young girls.
Right.
And then, the thoughts of, I answer, feeling that this conversation is meaningless, because it's like, he's, like, wait, why am I telling myself?
Right. Ougi's just stalling for time.
Yeah, exactly. But getting a little bit of recap, because Ougi wasn't there for that whole thing there. And then, the whole thing of jobs and roles and stuff like that. What kind of lively conversation did you have with her? Kind of checking up on each other, make sure you didn't do anything wrong or anything, to hurt her or anything.
Yeah.
And Ougi brought up the idea of the job being half done. That was a tough one. Nothing less from a phoenix is beyond what I could handle. And then kind of going into a little bit of speculation regarding, how Tsukihi was able to basically survive all this craziness she's had to deal with as well. And came to the conclusion it was because her big brother refuses to stop loving her, even knowing what her true identity is.
That actually reminds me of something. Was there a line where Tsukihi was like, I almost died 2 years ago or something like that? Or during summer break or something like that?
No, that was Ougi telling Tsukihi that.
Okay.
Yeah, Ougi was telling her that. And that's kind of the thing of, if you didn't have your sister or your brother there because of Yozuru, Yozuru was trying to go and kill her, remember?
Okay.
Because she was an aberration.
Okay, yeah, I'm probably just getting the timeline of things mixed up or something.
No, it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that basically led to her using that as a logical base to go, you're a monster like me because you need other people to support you and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then she brings up, that must be why Kagenui Yozuru gave up.
Right.
And then I'm not quite able to do the same thing. Yeah. And it's crazy how little Araragi is speaking here.
Right.
And
but I love the whole thing of that you pointed out of the transition card or whatever of I felt this conversation was meaningless because if Ougi is Araragi here,
prelude,
it's Araragi trying to hold off. Let's push this back. Let's procrastinate
here.
Let's just keep talking for a little bit longer.
Let's talk about other people's problems and stuff.
Exactly.
Let's go into their whole things.
Right. Let's deflect or literally focus on anything other than this painful thing that we'll have to do.
Even though he's resolved to do this.
Right.
And in some ways that's what everyone is like when they're about to make a big decision in general. Even if you're just going to do something as meaningless in terms of your person, as like you're going to buy like a big thing. Like you're going to buy your first car or something. It's a big deal. It's a big thing or something.
Sure.
And it's like, oh my gosh, you're actually doing this? What about all the ways it could go wrong? What about all the other things we should be focusing on? Should we be spending this energy on something else?
Right.
And, that's it.
Well, but the idea that even though he is resolved to do it, that doesn't mean that it is that it is without internal conflict, right? Because he has resolved that he's going to do this. He is going to, exterminate Ougi, right? He's going to let her go. But because Ougi is also a part of him, there is still that part of him despite his resolve, right? That's why they call it resolve, because so that when the conflict comes up, you don't shift, right?
You resolve. You know?
Right, exactly. Even if that conflict comes from within yourself.
Right.
So I love it.
Yeah. And then we get the final little bit here from Ougi of like, well, did I do something wrong?
Was I not charming enough?
Yeah. And Araragi doesn't respond here. Just a look. And Ougi, of course, being Araragi, knows what he's thinking and goes, well, that's the correct answer, Araragi-senpai.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the right thing. So what? So you can do the right thing too? Wow, that's just it's so painful, and it's just the idea that at this moment here, they might as well just end it. And Ougi, your true identity
is me. Yep.
Wow. So now, even though he looks, I would say, a little bit more positive here about this, I feel like this is going to be really hard for Araragi.
Yeah, I am so curious to see how the next episode goes.
The next episode is going to be huge, because if he's basically letting go of kind of the more mature and like you watched Inside Out, right?
Yes.
You remember when Bing Bong is left behind in the memories and stuff?
Yep.
It's one of the saddest like Pixar moments I've ever seen. But this is basically like a more realized, mature, three-dimensional look at what it's like to have that part of yourself that has guided you for so long come to a point to where you don't need it anymore, because you have people around you that are going to do everything that this version, this part of you could do, and way more than you could ever imagine. Just what Senjugahara was able to do in that date there is so good for Araragi, but also who Araragi is in general and how much he's grown to the point where he, as of who he is himself, Ougi isn't really necessarily needed in this way.
Maybe your internal sense of justice isn't too bad after all.
Yeah. Like, I'm so excited to see what his resolution with regards to Ougi is, because I feel like telling us ahead of time that in Suruga Devil, Ougi is still around gives me so much excitement regarding the possibilities of there being this balance where Araragi does channel essentially Ougi at times when it's needed, but only when it's absolutely needed. And that just
do you think Ougi will still be connected to Araragi in the future, or that Ougi will be separate?
I don't know, man. What do you think? It's like
I don't know, because
it's gonna be so
like this is one of those things that because of the mystery aspects of Monogatari, right? I haven't been fully sure about, because we've seen points where Ougi was on screen and it seemed very clearly that it was actually Araragi and that it was just Ougi, sort of that side of Araragi, right? Like the interaction with Hanakawa, right? And that I love that whole interaction so much. Then there's things like when Ougi runs into Nadeko, and it's like, okay, maybe I just need to rewatch the scene again, but that felt like it was a separate entity, a separate person or something.
Well, I think that's an example of Araragi being hard on his friends.
Gotcha.
Kind of the thing of what.
But then,
the personality that he has essentially is he's putting that pressure on someone that he might actually be wanting to help, but it ended up leading towards Nadeko's.
But then in Hana, he's graduated from high school. So why would he be at the high school? Like,
because he's just, I guess, helping Tsuruga at that point then.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm
Coming to visit and say hi.
right. I'm not sure if this is like when I think about it, I'm not sure if it's one of those things where it's I need to rewatch it, or if it's like or if it's something where finishing the show will sort of make it clear what those sorts of things were. Like, and so I'm curious to see how
there's a lot of
goes.
ways they could do it. Yeah. And I think the main point is, as long as we understand that there is an aspect of Araragi present, regardless of how it's presented in the individual scenes of past episodes, knowing that it is both Araragi and Ougi at any given time that we see Ougi, I feel like that's the way it wraps around my head rather well.
Okay.
Because then that covers things like Tsuruga being like, hey, I'd like to introduce you to... I'd like to introduce you to a fan who knows a lot about, my arm and your blood and stuff like that.
That's another good question. I am curious how that... I mean, I suppose it could have already been an aberration at that point, and then it was just a... Yeah, I don't know.
It'll be
it's
interesting,
weird.
yeah.
Supernatural stuff.
But y'all can't wait for the next episode. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see that next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there, and any level support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jacob. I'm sorry, you can check out our Twitch channel as well, link in the description.
Yes, our Twitch channel, we stream Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Mondays podcast, Tuesdays One Piece manga readings, Wednesdays and Fridays Caleb does gaming.
I'm playing Hades right now.
Yep, and Thursdays I do gaming, which right now is Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.